CBS Sports Radio.
Now it's pace of play.
Come on, Glenn. Come on. Get your head in the damn game.
Putting the boys on the clock.
I guess we're playing for keeps now.
The fuck?
All right, welcome everybody, to this edition of Pace of Play here on the 19th Hole Weekend Edition. And Lee, let me kick it off. The PGA of Australia has announced that they're going to join the PGA Tour and the PGA of America, kind of acquiescing. They are going to adopt the new rule, the ban against anchored putting. So, in my mind, this is kind of, what could you say, the beginning of the end. I think all of these organizations are going to start slowly, methodically falling in line, and it looks like most of them are going to adapt to the new rule as far as banning the anchored stroke. You feel the same way?
Well, I think most of them will adopt and follow the others. But if the question is the controversy over? I don't think so. Every one of these organizations has essentially, has essentially agreed with conditions to the point of they want the extension of this stroke being outlawed for amateur play out to the 2024 number where they did with the wedge and the groove rules, which I think is perfectly makes sense. I mean, you want to make the game, as we're losing players, we have to make the game easier for people to enter, easier for people to play, easier for people to get the ball in the hole. And if ultimately anchoring the club allows them to do that and will add play and growth to the amount of people that are playing, we've got to do it. So I think they're going to be okay with it on the pro level. But I think there's going to be some pressure put on the USGA and the RNA to at least try to extend that out to where amateurs can use it for long term or at least for an extended period of time.
You know, they're not an excuse, but one of the reasonings behind the PGA of Australia making this was two things. Number one, they didn't want to have a different set of rules that don't comply with the vast majority of other tours around the world. And secondly, they thought it was unfair to the professionals to have to adapt, if you will, that, you know, they're restricted from using the long putter in one place, and all of a sudden they could come there and use it, and it might cause some kind of confusion, which I think is silly.
And that's been most of the organization's reasoning for doing it. I just don't believe in it. Every sport that we have has different rules from amateur to you use metal bats in college baseball, you use wood bats in professional baseball. Courts a different size in college and pro. Shot clocks are different. I mean, all those types of things. It's different from one sport to another, and I got no problem with that.
I agree.
All right, hey, John Deere Classic this week in Silvis / Moline, Illinois. The heart of Middle America continues its regular spot the week before the British Open. Is this a good event for to be the week before the British Open, or do you think something should change here to where it's a little bit closer, a little bit bigger event? That type of thing. What do you think about this being the week before the British Open?
I think it's perfectly fine. It's a well-established tournament, number one. Number two, the professionals that want to play in it are going to play in it. Number three, if you don't and you want to prep for the British Open, you're going to stay at home and maybe find a links course if possible, to practice on. And I think it should stay where it is. It's a perfectly fine event, as you talked about earlier in the show. They treat you great. They get a decent field. And it's up to the individual whether they want to play or not play. And I think it's fine.
No, I think it's absolutely perfect. Yeah. I agree with you. They've got almost half of the top 30 in the FedEx Cup points playing in this event, so the field is pretty good. They charter a jet immediately after the event to fly over to the British Open. Right. They have, as I understand, they have 100 seats on that jet, and it's been sold out for a while.
Yep.
Again, they've accepted who they are. John Deere is a fantastic sponsor of this tournament, not only this tournament, but also of the PGA Tour. And so I think it's an absolute perfect venue and a great, great golf course.
It is a very good golf course. And one thing you could say about the John Deere Classic after all of these years, they have kept themselves from digging themselves into a hole. Kept themselves from digging. Okay.
That was pretty weak.
It was weak. All right, David Higgins, speaking about the Open, found himself in a three-way playoff to qualify to get into the Open. He finished the round. His caddy put his clubs in his trunk. They got the clubs back out. They started the round, and lo and behold, they discovered that he had 15 clubs and was DQ'd because his caddy had put in an extra 3-wood or something in the bag, forgot to take it out. I understand there's rules to golf. The guy was DQ'd, but really when it comes down to this, Lee, I want to get your opinion. Who do you think is primarily responsible? Is it the caddy or is it the player?
It's 100% the player.
No doubt about it. I agree with you 110%.
100% the player. The caddy is the first line of defense. And then ultimately the decision and checking, and it doesn't matter whether it's a yardage, whether it's the club that you decide to play during a shot, 15 clubs in the bag, what type of ball ultimately it's the player's responsibility. Now, to argue with you a little bit, the article that I read said that David Higgins put the club in the bag himself.
Okay.
He thought that he was done. He had finished the 36-hole qualifier, so as he went to take the clubs and put them into the car, he had one club that he had taken out. He pulled it out of the trunk, put it in his bag, put the bag back in the trunk.
Okay.
And then when they went and got halfway down the first fairway, they realized that he had the 15.
Now, I was told he gave it to his caddy to put in, into the bag, but it's inconsequential. But
you were told by who? One of the players playing in the event?
Actually, somebody did call me.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're absolutely. It's like being on the left seat in an airplane. You're pilot in command. You're 100% totally responsible for what happens.
No question. And we've seen this happen.
Yeah, before. Yeah.
Ian Woosnam, the one time got upset at his caddy when he started with 2 drivers and ended up having 15 clubs. And ultimately, look in your bag and count your freaking clubs.
He's still looking for that driver that he threw into the weeds. Real quickly, just to sidetrack, what do you think? Steve Stricker is going to miss the Open because he wants to spend his wedding anniversary with his wife. And I posted something on Facebook. I said, Steve, you're a schmuck for doing that. You can always go home and, your wife's going to be there. You can always get laid a week later. So I think he's stupid.
Well, I like Steve Stricker a lot. And,
Not as much as Jeff Ogilvy, though.
No. Yeah. And Ogilvy's probably going to win the British Open, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. I like Steve, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. Sam Snead, his family has decided to auction off quite a few of his prized possessions, trophies, medals, all that type of thing to auction off, possibly give the money to charity. I guess they haven't decided exactly where the money's going to go, but the auctions are going to start very soon, and probably run in 3 different lots. I think the first one's going to start in Chicago. Do they owe it to the game for that stuff to be in a museum? Or a golf relic somewhere, or do they have the option to doing whatever they want with it?
They don't owe squadoosh to the game of golf. It's their stuff. They could do what they want. As far as the possibility of giving it to charity, I think that's all baloney. I think they need the money, that they're going to keep it, but it's theirs to do. And sure, it'd be a great gesture to say, here, I want to donate this to the World Golf Museum or something like that. But they certainly don't have that obligation. But I do know the one thing: they are keeping his straw hat. That they're not going to let go.
They it's funny. They're keeping a tractor. They're keeping a couple of other possessions. But what they did mention was, and I agree with you. They don't know anybody anything.
It's their stuff.
They the interesting thing is that they mentioned that Sam himself didn't particularly care for trophies anyways. Mm-hmm. So they've been stored in a museum. They've been stored at the Greenbrier,
right?
And that it's time for them to sell them. I don't necessarily disagree with you that they're probably going to keep some of the money themselves and use it. But ultimately, to me, it's just sad. They don't owe anything, but it's just sad.
I agree with you.
That a guy or his family can't keep a Masters trophy, a claret jug,
right,
and all those types of things.
Lee, out of all of that crap that they're going to sell, the one thing I wish that you and I could keep would be a swing.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that.
No doubt about it.
They can't sell that.
They can't sell that. All right, LPGA Tour player and local Las Vegan Natalie Gulbis announced she is announced and is going to be getting married. She's 30. The guy that she's engaged to is a former quarterback from Yale. He's 29 years old. He's starting a woman's vitamin company, or they're trying to make him sound like he's some kind of an
athletic wristbands.
Something like, I don't know, whatever. He happens to be a one handicap, obviously a very, very good player. You think she might be quite as enamored if the guy was a 30 handicap?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the guy's got some dough, got a good head on his shoulders, and starting a company. He's a co-owner, I think, this athletic wristband company. Yeah. I think ultimately it's tough to see, Natalie go off the market for some folks, but ultimately I think
why not? She's not doing squat over the last 10 years.
Well,
she won the Avion Masters, and she was lucky to win that. You think she's going to ever win a tour event again? She's lucky to break 80 down.
I hope so. She does a lot for that tour, one way or another. Whether
does a
it's
lot
on
for
the golf
guys
course,
watching that tour.
Well, whether it's on the golf course or off the golf course, I think she does a lot for that tour, and part of their growth has to be in. What she provides.
Well,
and you can read into that however you like.
Well, she's grown herself in some of the right places.
All right, last question. We got to go quickly here.
All right.
British Open, give me a pick and a dark horse.
My dark horse is Martin Laird, very good player from Scotland, 101, and I've got to go with a lot of people who think this guy is going to win it, and he's playing good. He just won a couple of weeks ago with Graham McDowell.
I'm going to go, and actually my first one may be a dark horse, because he is a top 15 player in the world.
Is Ogilvy even playing in this damn thing?
Sergio Garcia. And then my dark horse is going to be Jeff Ogilvy.
Yeah.
But I also
think, surprise, folks?
Watch out for Padraig Harrington.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he's got his prescription right in his glasses that he's wearing. Anyway, that's wrapping it up for this edition of Pace of Play. Stay with us. We're coming back to close out the show.
It's Saturday morning.